Are you looking for a way to tame up your birds so maybe you can keep them as a pet, or maybe you can just approach the cage without them going nuts? That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Hey guys, welcome back to another Slightly Rednecked video. Again, my name's Chris. If you're not familiar with this channel, I help you to produce your own meat, eggs, and vegetables from your backyard, your balcony, your deck, your garage, or even a spare room in your house if that's the way you want to do it. And today we're talking about how to tame up your quail, your Coturnix quail specifically. I've had this question asked quite a bit in the last couple of weeks, so I thought, well, maybe I'll just go ahead and address this in a video. Let me start off by saying I don't bother taming my quail up that much, really. They kind of get used to me over time, but I don't really mess with them. I don't put too much effort into it. So these guys are, I don't know, 4 weeks old, something like that. They are not tame at all. You can probably tell. They have moved out of the closed-in area or out of the open space area. Maybe you can see that, maybe you can't. They're all in the closed-in area because I'm standing over here talking. So they're not out in the open. But I do have a few ideas about what you can do. And I've seen people tame quail up. I've got one viewer that lives locally and has come over and bought some quail, bought some eggs from me. And she has a little bird that she keeps on her shoulder all the time, little white quail. And he just hangs out on her shoulder all the time, just like a little pet bird. You can tame them up that well. What it requires is you spend a lot of time with your birds. Get them used to you. And there's a couple of tricks you can do to make that even easier. The biggest one is going to be bring some kind of reward, some kind of treat for them when you come to visit the birds. And I'm going to show you hopefully an example of this. So, you might find something that the birds really like. And remember, the first time you bring it to them, they're probably not going to know what that is. So don't get too excited about that. But bring them maybe a piece of watermelon. Put it in their cage. Let them get used to that. So where they get excited when the watermelon shows up. And then that's the treat. You show up with the watermelon in your hand, you get them to eat out of your hand because they know what that is. And the next step from getting them to eat out of your hand, getting them to be able to pet them a little bit while they're eating, get them to just calm down and get used to you, so to speak. But again, it requires a lot of time you spend with them. Another idea I have, and here they're starting to come out in the open here, but again, if I open this cage up, they're probably going to run to the other side. Hey guys, so they don't like me. See, they don't like me being around right now. Makes them a little bit nervous. Another thought that I have is this is a little bit tricky to do, but if you can time it out just right to where they run out of food, every 24 hours or so. Then you show up with the food and you bring it in the same kind of container every time. I happen to feed them out of a coffee can right here, and I've been feeding them that since they were in the brooder, so they know what this coffee can means. It means there's food. And if they've been out of food for any amount of time, they're going to come running when they see that coffee can. It's the same concept as bringing them a treat. Now, I would caution you with this because you don't want them to be without food too long. Quail are little pigs. They eat like crazy all the time. If you leave them without food too long, they can get pretty aggressive with each other. They can kill some of the other birds. They just start to go kind of crazy if they're without food for too long at all. So you don't really want to make this you need to time it out just right, so to speak. Now these guys are not completely out of food, but they are low on food, and I'm not sure they can reach it right now because I think it would be cleared out if they weren't. So let's see what we can do here. Let me bring the camera in just a little bit closer and get a view of these guys, and we'll see what happens. All right, so we got this cage open now. Hopefully you can see inside here, and you can see there's a couple of birds out here, but when I go reaching my hands in here, they tend to go into the other side away from me. They don't want me really handling them. This guy here, he's pretty calm. He's not minding too awful much, but while I'm in here, I'm gonna check their water cups. Maybe, yep, water cup's still working. But if I open this feeder up, let me put a little bit of feed in there so I'm not spilling it when I do it. And I start shaking this over here by the door where they can see it, they'll usually start coming out. And they come right up to the feeder. And then we can work on, getting them used to my hands. I'm not going to, let me get the feeder out of the way. Get them used to my hands. I'm not going to force myself on them too much. But there I can kind of pet them a little bit as they're starting to eat. They get a little bit more used to me as we go. Now, not all of them came out, but some of them did. Let's put a little feed in here. So it's going to take a little bit of time. I've been keeping these guys pretty well fed, so they're probably not starving right now. But you can see how well that worked. I mean, they're already calming down right around me, just hanging out with them, brought them some feed, let them eat, just being near them. Over time, they're going to calm down even more and allow me to kind of handle them just a little bit more. And I would say, again, don't force yourself on them. You're going to want to take it easy. Let me get the lid back on this feeder so they don't jump in there and poop in it. Let's go over to the other cage. I think they're a little bit lower on feed. It might be a little bit more exciting to watch them. All right, so hopefully you can see inside this cage as I open it up. You're going to see they're probably going to run a little bit from me. They're probably going to go back in the other side as I start handling them. They don't want to have anything to do with me. These guys aren't being a very good specimen. They're not really running from me too much, but they're actually pretty calm today. But you'll see what I mean whenever I say, I've got a little bit of wet food in there I need to dump out. Okay, now as I start putting food in here, they come running. And then they're much more tolerant of me. I may be able to even get them eat out of the hand. They're hungry. Here. There you go. Maybe you guys can see that. Eating right out of my hand now. And a few minutes ago, they wouldn't even really let me kind of get near them. There he goes, in my hand, kicking it all around. I need to cover this back up so they quit doing that and quit wasting food. Get out of there, buddy. Get out of there. And I got one more feeder to fill up for these guys. Let me get to it. All right, so second feeder is getting filled up now. And we might be able to coax some of them out here with the feeder if they can see it. There's a couple of them coming out. Hopefully I'm not blocking the camera too much. And you can't see this, but they're all coming up to the door. They're all looking around like, what is that? There they all come. Well, not all of them, but some of them. You get the idea. Now, if you do this every day or every other day, and you do it on a fairly regular basis, spend a little bit of time with your birds, they're gonna get used to you pretty quick. You can see I already had them starting to eat out of my hand. And it doesn't take long from that point to get them just to where they trust you. They know that every time you show up, you're bringing something good for them. And that gets them pretty excited to see you. They're gonna start coming to you instead of running from you. They're gonna be a lot more tolerant to being picked up. They're gonna be a lot more tolerant to being petted, and more like a pet bird than a wild bird. Again, I don't really spend the time with mine to bother doing that because I just don't. They're not pets to me. I mean, I want them to live a good life. I want them to be happy and healthy, and they are. But I don't really care that they're all that tame and all that used to me, and I can just pick them up whenever I want to. And I mean, they're not that big a deal to me, so I don't bother with it. But if it's something you're looking at doing, it's not that hard. Again, spend some time with them, catch them when they're hungry. It's a lot easier that way. Anyway, hopefully this gave you guys some ideas. If you have some more tips on what you can do to train your quail or to tame them up, leave them in the comments below for everybody to enjoy, because again, I don't do this, so you guys may know better than I do how to actually get them tamed up. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and as always, God bless.